Okay. So we are back the main section. So now we do the question 5. So we just go in pair. So now weak group, please. Phương Nguyễn, please. Can you use can you share your result on the on the board?
I'm sorry, we just have a write it down. So
Can you type on the board? So I let you share the screen.
yes, okay.
Okay. Can you start sharing? Let me correct this point.
Yes, can you see my result?
Okay. Please change to not nine. It is the QS. The QS is 95,000. 95,139. Okay, and so when you have the new result is 22,123. 123.
I'm sorry, teacher.
Mhm.
Can you let with Hằng join our class, please?
Oh, okay. I already accept.
Thank you.
When I assign you to the room, so I saw that Nguyệt Hằng not in the room. So that's why I put her in the waiting room.
Teacher, can we still correct question B?
You mean that you want to do the question B, right?
Our group have finished.
Yes.
Over.
Please go ahead.
Yes.
The EM. Okay. So in the question B, you need to compute the percentage of overvaluation or undervaluation. Okay. The correct terms is in this case is the overvaluation or the undervaluation, not appreciation. The terms appreciation and depreciation reflect the change of the exchange rate from time to time. And in the case when we compare the exchange rate, the central rate and the market rate, in this case we use the terms undervaluation or undervaluation.
Teacher, I have a question.
Yes.
Are undervaluation and devaluation the same? I see in question number 2, the term is devaluation and revaluation.
Question 6, you mean question 6 or question 2 of this problem set?
Question 2 of this problem says
Mm-hmm.
the term
Yes, the revaluation or devaluation. So that's mean the that's reflect when the central bank change the central rate.
is different from the overvalue and undervalue.
Yes.
Oh.
Yes. So for the undervaluation or overvaluation, in that case, we compare whether the central rate is higher or lower than the market rate. Okay. And once we have the central rate, so if the central bank announced, so in this, for example, today, the central bank, they announce a central rate, but tomorrow they set they reset the central rate, they raise the central rate. So in that case, in terms of Vietnamese, we call that the devaluation. For example, if today the central bank, the State Bank of Vietnam, set the central rate equal to 23,000 Vietnamese đồng against one USD, okay? That is the central rate of today. But tomorrow, the central bank set the central rate 23,500. Okay, so there's an increase in the central rate, right? So that corresponds to the devaluation of Vietnamese currency. Okay? And if tomorrow the central bank decrease the central rate, like a decrease to 22,000 Vietnamese đồng, okay? So in that case, we call that the revaluation because that's an increase in the value of the Vietnamese đồng. Is clear enough?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, after this question, I will use the box to show you. I want to make sure you understand and you note that. Okay, you note that on your book. Okay, are you finished?
Yes, we finish.
Okay, Nguyễn Kim Phượng, right?
Yes.
And who another member? What is the name of another member in the group?
Another member's name is Lưu Tuấn Hùng.
Lưu Tuấn Hùng. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Lưu Tuấn Hùng. Okay, please have a check what your classmate did so far. So in this type of question, in the question A, you need to compute the equilibrium, right? And we have the equilibrium condition when the QD equal to QS. And from that, we solve the equation, and then we rewrite the EM. After we have the market rate, so we can plug into the either the supply or the demand curve, and then we have the amount of the USD traded on the forex market. Question A, the EM and QD, QS, okay. Is that correct?
Yeah, it's correct.
Okay, please take the calculation. In question B, assuming that Vietnam maintains a fixed exchange rate regime at the central rate 21,950, and you have to compute the percentage undervaluation or overvaluation. And please correct by yourself this term. It's not the I made a mistake here. It's not the appreciation and depreciation. It's the undervalue or overvaluation of the USD and VND. How does maintaining this exchange rate affect Vietnam and the US? Okay, for the formula, the percentage of USD, okay, ECR minus EM divided by EM, and then you plug the information. And please take this result. Is that correct?
No, it's only zero. It's only 0.7881%. They multiply it by 100.
But okay, so
the percentage they multiply it by more than 100. So
by okay, by more than by 1,000 or 10,000, right?
yes.
You mean that?
Yes, they multiply it once again. So there is the wrong answers.
Okay, so the answer here you mean that's minus 0.78%.
Yes. Yes.
Mm-hmm. And the minus mean USD is undervalued.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. And VND is overvalued. Okay. Please correct by yourself. And when we have the central rate is less than the market rate. So the USD is undervalued and VND is overvalued. And what happened to the State Bank of Vietnam, to the Vietnam and to the US? So we just focus on the Vietnam. What happened to the Vietnam economy here? When the Vietnam is overvalued, the central bank have to sell the reserve access to obtain the central rate, to keep the exchange rate at the central rate, okay? And as a consequence, it reduces the reserve asset, the foreign reserve. Okay, we just focus on the Vietnam. So that's what we have for question 5. Okay, now we move to question 6.
I have a question.
Okay, please go ahead.
Why would a central bank want their domestic currency to be overvalued?
To overvalue.
Why would a central bank want their currency to be overvalued?
So we have two scenarios, and when the central bank is greater than the market rate, right? And in an opposite way, when the central bank set the central rate is less than the market rate. It's easy to understand in the first case. In the case the central bank set the central rate is greater than the market rate, right? Because in that case it supports the export. But in the second case, when the central bank set the central rate is lower than the market rate, so do you have any idea in this scenario? Or anyone have the idea or have your friend to interpret this case? Phượng, can you stop sharing?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so we have the question here. Why the central bank said the ECR is less than EM? Okay, any ideas? Bùi Ngọc Nhung, please.
I think that in this case, the goods in the country is rare, so the government want to keep the goods in the country, so they don't want to export more, so they keep the rate lower.
They don't want to export the goods. Why is that?
But because the goods in our country is we need the goods.
You mean that it's like in the domestic economy there's a shortage in the supply?
Yes.
The product, like
yes.
the consuming product. Okay, maybe.
Yes, like the yes, I think that.
Who raised this question?
I am. So, me.
Okay, thank. Okay. Do you have any idea to answer this?
No, I just forgot to lower my hand.
Okay. Okay. There are some reasons why the central bank set in the sub scenario. I mean, set the central rate is less than the market rate. The first scenario, the first reason, because the foreign pressure from the foreign country. So in the case when, so we like for the case of Vietnam, we have the huge trade surplus, we have the huge trade surplus with the US, with the Euro, and we may receive the trade, the foreign pressure from the international community to increase or to raise our domestic currency. Okay, so the purpose is to reduce our trade surplus with the trading partner. So we receive the foreign pressure from the foreign currency because we have a huge trade surplus with them, because our export to the trading partner is very, very huge, and it create a loss of like a big magnitude of the trade surplus. And the foreign government want us to reduce our trade surplus or reduce that trade deficit, okay? The trade deficit. So in that case, it forced the central bank to set the central rate that is lower than the market rate. Okay, that is the one reason, the first reason. The second reason, okay, as one mentioned, one of your friends mentioned, because the government want the firm to sell the products within the border. So it may be true, but another way to think about that, in the case, because we know that the export sector is the main engine of the economic development. So after the periods developed too fast, the economy, the development of the economy become too hot. Okay, and in the economy, there's an increase in the economy suffer a high inflation. So in that case, the central bank have to do something to cool the economy, to cool down the economy, okay, or to stabilize the economy, or to refrain that development. So in that case, the central bank can re-evaluate. So in that case, the central bank may set the central rate that is lower than the market rate, okay? And it also corresponds to the evaluation, okay? And another reason that can be used to explain when the country, the central bank, want to build the good image or good reputation to the international community, and they try to invest more abroad, okay? So if the currency that is lower than the market rate, if the central rate is less than the market rate, so it's good when the domestic investor invest abroad, okay? So those are the reasons can be used to explain why the central bank set the central rate that is lower than the market rate, okay? So you may think that if the central bank set the central rate that is higher than the market rate, so it's good for the economy in the sense that it support the export. But when the economy grows so fast and the economy is very, very, very hot and in that case, the economy suffer the high inflation. In that case, the central bank have to cool down the economy by setting or by lowering the central rate. Okay, in that case, it reduce the export. Okay, that's some reason that I have in mind to answer your question. Is that clear? Thank you.
Yes, I think that's clear for me.
Okay, thank you. Okay, let me use the board to show. So someone asked about the some technical jargon, technical terms. We have the over valuation and under valuation. Okay, that correspond to the case when we compare the ECR and EM. Okay, so we compare the ECR, the central rate, and the market rate to conclude the currency is overvalued or undervalued. Okay, the next pair of the technical jargon is the revaluation. Revaluation and devaluation. For overvaluation and undervaluation, định giá cao in Vietnamese words, định giá cao, định giá thấp. Định giá cao, định giá thấp. For revaluation and devaluation, nâng giá và phá giá. Revaluation correspond to nâng giá. Devaluation means phá giá. And all of these terms correspond to the fixed exchange rate. Okay? All of these four terms only exist in the fixed exchange rate regime. What is revaluation? Revaluation. We need to stand from a views of currency, like for the VND, for the State Bank of SBV, and look for the BND. Okay. The revaluation mean today the central bank set the ERs at some level ER, and tomorrow the central bank set the new ECR, okay, new ECR. And revaluation mean the new one is lower, okay. And if the new central rate is less than the previous central rate, so in this case, we say that the State Bank of Vietnam revalue, okay, revalue the Vietnamese đồng. And by contrast, when the central bank raise the central rate, okay, when the central bank raise the central rate, so we say that the central bank devalue or devaluation of VND, and the first case revalue of VND, okay. Revaluation or devaluation correspond to the case when the central bank set or adjust the central rate. Revaluation or devaluation correspond to the case when the central bank adjusts the central rate, okay? Meanwhile, overvaluation and undervaluation valuation correspond to the situation when we compare the central rate and the EM and the market rate. It's okay now? It's clear now? If we use a graph,
Can I ask a question?
yes,
The exchange rate of center rate, which has the comma on the head, is the after adjustment or before?
the
Is
new,
it
new.
the new one?
Okay, new one. Okay, let me write it.
So the new one in the first sentence, the new one is a lower, so it's a revaluation.
Yes, because you see that the exchange rate of Vietnam, 1 USD equal to how much VND, right? Right? When the exchange rate decrease, so it means that the value of Vietnamese don't become more value or become more valuable.
Okay, I got it.
Hmm?
Oh, I got it. Thank you.
Oh, okay. So, and in here, we focus on Vietnam, the domestic currency. Okay, we focus on the domestic currency. For the case of Vietnam, the VND. So when the exchange rate decrease, the Vietnamese dong become more valuable, right? So that corresponds to the revaluation, nâng giá. And in the second case, when the central rates increase, the Vietnamese dong become less valuable, okay? So that corresponds to phá giá, devaluation. Okay. Now, please do the question 6. Vũ Đức Anh, please.
So I will share my screen on. I will explain.
Okay. I will stop sharing. Wait a moment.
Thank you.
Okay, please go ahead.
So I will explain the result about the exchange rate. We let the quantity of demand and quantity of supply equal each other, so we can calculate the exchange rate. And about the graph, when the Reserve Bank of Australia sell 1.5 AUD, so the supply the supply shift from S to S1, and the exchange rate of the central rate will decrease from E to ECR.
Mhm.
And in the second question,
In the question 6, question 8, under floating exchange rate regime, suppose the Reserve Bank of Australia decide to intervene by selling 1.5. You read this question, right?
yes,
But on your screen only the result of the initial equilibrium. Because we have the information, suppose that the Central Bank of Australia decide to intervene by selling 1.5 AUD on the foreign market, determine the balance rate, the amount of the transaction.
so I will write the answer for question A.
Yes.
So that is a no.
Mm-hmm.
So this is the ECR of Reserve Bank.
Okay, this is the new.
And in the next question, so when the Reserve Bank maintain a fixed exchange rate regime at AUD, exchange rate is 1.71, so it's higher than the this balance rate. So the exchange rate, Reserve Bank of Australia will buy more foreign currency, so it will to increase D0 to D1, so it will increase the foreign reserve.
So, okay, so in the sub question B, question A is okay. Question A is okay. You already have the new balance rate, and we need to compute the amount of transaction. Okay, but it's okay. We can do that, and you already use the graph. That's all for question A. Question B. Suppose that the US and Australia maintain a fixed exchange rate at the central rate is 0.71, right?
Yes.
And how much will the foreign reserve of Australia increase or decrease if the Reserve Bank of Australia is responsible for intervening in the foreign exchange market?
So to maintain the exchange, maintain the fixed exchange rate, so the Reserve Bank have to increase from D to D1, so they will intervene by buying more foreign currency to increase D to
here,
D1.
The Central Bank of Australia buy the weaker currency.
AUD to USD, they will buy USD.
Buy USD. So please remember that. So on the slide, on the graph you have, now you draw the supply and the demand of AUD, not USD. You read the information, you have the function of the AUD, the supply and the demand of AUD, not USD. Right?
Oh, I will check it.
Yeah. Because the difference between question 6 and question 5, it reduce, we change the currency. In the question 5, we use the exchange rate of the USD against VND, and in this case, Vietnam Dong have the direct quote to the USD. Okay, and that's common for most of the central bank, most of the currency in over the world. But there are 5 currency that have the indirect quote against USD, and AUD is one of them. And when you draw the supply and the demand, please remember here, we draw the supply and the demand of the commodity currency. And in here, for the case of Australia, because it have the indirect quote to the USD, okay? So we draw the supply and the demand of the AUD, not USD. Okay.
Yeah,
So, okay. So we have the central rate. The central rate is 0.71 and is greater than the market rate, right?
Yes.
The market rate is the one you compute here, 0.7083, okay? So we have the central rate is greater than the market rate, okay? So there is an excess in the supply, right? And you are correct that the central bank have to sell, but in here have to sell the AUD, have to sell and the AUD, the commodity currency, okay? No. Sorry. Have to buy. Because there is an excess in the AUD. the Central Bank of Australia had to buy the AUD, and in return, they pay the USD, and USD is the foreign reserve of the Australia. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. So it reduces the foreign reserve. So in the question 6, because it uses the indirect quote currency, so it's a bit difficult to think or to analyze. But if you focus on the commodity currency, okay, on the graph we have the graph of the demand and supply of the commodity currency. Okay, so when they sell or they buy the commodity currency, and then we link to whether that currency is the foreign currency or the domestic currency. Okay, so if you follow that step, so you may make no mistake about that. Okay, and how much will the foreign reserve of Australia increase or decrease? So in this case, the Central Bank of Australia, they have to buy the AUD, right? Have to buy the AUD, and they pay the USD. So their foreign reserve decrease. And how much?
So I will calculate it on the screen now.
Yes, yeah.
when the Reserve Bank they buy more AUD, the quantity will increase from 14.33 to 14.34.
When you read the question B, in here we need to compute the change in the foreign reserve, right?
Yes.
Okay, and the foreign currency of the Australia is USD, right? So you need to compute the change of the USD, not AUD. Because here we ask whether the foreign reserve of Australia increase or decrease and how much, right?
Yes.
So how to compute the change of the USD?
So
We will take Q multiply with E, so we will have the money in USD.
Can you read for Thai for us? So we can take
So,
that.
If it's QS, he will take the 14.34 multiply.
Can you type what she answer? The formula. Okay, thank you.
So, I'm sorry, okay, so it is 14.34 multiply 0.71 equal. Okay, so the next is 14.32. No. I mean, can you make the calculation by yourself to we have the result? Okay, so the next is you take 14.30. 14. No.
Next line. Okay.
Yeah, 14.32 multiply 0.71 is equal to 10.1672. Okay, so the excess, the abundance in USD is 0.0142.
You mean you take the difference?
Yeah.
Okay. Let's see. For the Q prime, why you have that? Where this come from?
Because because the QD is 14.24, it means we have 14.32 in USD. So, one USD is
correspond to the QQS, right?
Yeah. So one.
Your idea is you first you compute the QS.
Yeah.
Second you compute the QD.
Yes.
Okay. And when and we use the central rate, right? So we have the central rate here 0.71.
Yeah.
you plug into the QS.
Yeah.
And we have this, and then we plug into the QD, and we
Yeah.
have the QD. So, and then you have the 14.34 for QS, right?
Yep.
For QD, you have 14.32, right?
Yep. Yep.
And
Yep.
that is the quantity expressed in AUD, right?
Yes. So I will
Okay.
change it in USD by multiply the quantity of both supply and demand. I multiply with 1.71
Okay.
because it's the exchange rate of US of AUD against USD.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. That's correct. Okay. So the idea here first, we use the central rate. You plug into the QS and QD supply, QS and QD equation, and you have the QS and the QS and the QD first, and that expressed in terms of the AUD, and then you multiply with the central rate to convert to the USD, and finally you take the difference between them. Okay, so that the change of the foreign visa, and that's the idea here. Is Bùi Ngọc Nhung, right? Your name is Bùi Ngọc Nhung.
Yes. Can you admit Chang Lei to the class because
Okay.
she incorrect?
Let me see. Who just answered this? What's your name? We have
It's me, Nguyễn Phương Thảo.
Nguyễn Phương Thảo. Okay, thank
Yes.
you. Thank you. Let me accept your friend first. Mm-hmm.
Teacher,
Yes, I'm here.
we are doing question. Are you right?
Sorry.
This is the second question in the question. Are you right?
We just answer both the question B. What we have said in the question B. Question A, we already finished so far. Nhung, I don't see your friend in the
Yes,
waiting room.
she in the
Oh, okay.
class.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. For question 6, sub question 6A, we are already so far. Thanh already did the question A so far. So who just raised the question? What are not clear in the board? Can you ask again, or you want me to re-explain anything? Vũ Đức Anh, do you have a question?
Yes, I'm here.
Do you have a question?
No, I do not have any question. I just do the question 6. I answer the question 6.
Okay.
So can I stop sharing my screen now?
Wait a moment for your friend to catch up. Anh, right? So for the question B, when we have the central rate, okay, so we plug into the supply and the demand equation, and you can compute the QD and the QS, and we compare them. And in this case, the QS is greater, right? QS is greater. So, and in here we only have the QS and the QD, the quantity of supply and the quantity of demand expressed in terms of the AUD. You need to convert to the USD by multiplying the central rate. Okay, after doing that, you take the difference, okay, and you can calculate the change in the foreign reserve of the Australia. So in this case, the change of the USD. And you can further add the subscript S and D to make the thing more clear. We have the Q, Vũ Đức Anh, in the second line, in the first line you have the Q prime, right? Q prime of the AUD, that is correct. But in the second line, that is, so we have the QD. For the QD, you need to plug into the QD equation. So we have the 20 minus S multiply the central rate.
You mean this line? This is formula?
I mean the second line. Yes. Yeah. Okay. Yes. 20 minus 8 multiply E, the central rate. No, not that. Multiply 0.71. Yes. Okay, I think it's clear now. Please check the calculation to make sure that the result is correct. Okay, that's all for today. So we almost finished the chapter 3. We still have one part, the type of the intervention. We have the standardized and non-standardized intervention. And in the next meeting, we finish this, and then we move to the chapter 4, the projecting power parity. Okay, that's all.